American diets, with the way the food industry is doing things, is just terrible. So RFK, not too long ago, he started out with doing something very simple. He says, we need to stop coloring food with artificial colors. This is a no-brainer. These items are made with petroleum products, which are not very good for you. The only reason you want to color food is because, well, food already has beautiful colors in its original form. Take a look at it. It's beautiful. That's where we get all the ideas about color. And unfortunately, as colors fade in the food, it's an indication that the food is not so good anymore. So, okay, so two things that are being added to the food. One is the color, and other things that make it last longer, pesticides, make it look better, color, and also bring it back to some form of, take the smell away, I suppose, when it's rotting. Anyway, we won't talk about that. We're going to talk about something that's related to that. And but before we do that, take a look at the videos. I've got part of the press conference from this morning, and I also took a look at some other speeches provided by RFK about health and health concerns. He will do three things, he said, before he was even appointed as secretary. He will take corruption out of the food industry, take corruption out of the pharmaceutical industry, and he was chuckling about it the last time, but this morning it was actually very serious. He took the prices down, took some of the corruption out of the industry. So, but the thing that was also quite important is food labeling. He says, on this one it's going to take a while because these require to be law changes made by the legislatures. They need to change the laws to get the right labels. Anyway, he says, well, this one may take a little bit longer. And this is the subject of my topic right now. And this is going to be on one very simple matter. Okay, what is it that they're allowed to say on these labelings? I have an example here which says this product is sugar-free. Yet, I look at the ingredients list and I look at the calories and say, well, the calculation on the calories don't make sense. It only has 11 grams of carbohydrates and the calories are 30 grams? That doesn't make sense, does it? No, it doesn't. Because 11 grams times 4, oh, wait a minute. No, it's all fiber, so that's insignificant amount of calories, right? But where did the calories come from? Never mind. Okay, so anyway, we look at this label. And what's confusing is it has 11 carbohydrates, but these 11 carbohydrates are dietary and soluble fibers. So we're talking maybe tops 10 calories. Tops, okay? However, it says on that 30 calories. That doesn't make sense, does it? How can something that has 10 calories show up as 30 calories? I suspect there's something wrong here. First of all, it says sugar-free, orange flavored. Oh, where does that come from? Artificial flavors. You don't want that. It has paprika extract. Extract from paprika, the color portion? I don't know. Is that an artificial color? Is that good? I don't know. Turmeric color. Okay, I can buy that. So anyway, but here's the interesting thing. The main ingredient is, of course, psyllium husk, which is fiber, and something else which struck my interest, maltodextrin. I'm willing to say that many of us don't know what maltodextrin is. We kind of gloss over it. We say it's healthy. It's got to be healthy. So, but I actually called this sugar-free. Actually called and discussed this, and I says, what is this ingredient that's called maltodextrin? And they said to me, it is a mixing agent. First of all, I don't know what a mixing agent is. An agent that mixes things? I had no idea. It says, what is I asked him again, what is maltodextrin? Do you know what maltodextrin is? She says, no, it's a mixing agent. It's a mixing agent. That's what it is. And this is the narrative. They stuck to it, and no matter what. Okay. Well, we found out why they indicated the calories somewhat correctly. What they did not indicate is that it's sugar-free. Well, maltodextrin is sugar, but it's not commonly referred to as sugar. It's not commonly referred to as sugar, but it is sugar. It's just it's actually something that causes your blood sugars to rise much quicker than regular sugar. It's sugar. So anyway, which brings us to this topic. And the topic is all about words. What do they mean? And how are they being manipulated to make you think it means something different? I read a Time article recently, and the headlines are still processing. And they're saying not all ultra-processed foods are the same, or some argue even unhealthy. I'm going, what? Okay, hold on a second. In the middle of the article, here's what it says. What is a processed food anyway? It's a rather new concept. It is. I believe that early mankind, the ancient Greeks, the ancient Egyptians, all these ancient people, they processed their food. They had food. They ground up the wheat. They ground it up, mixed it with water, baked it, applied heat to it, processed. That's a process, isn't it? Okay, but it's still food, right? Okay, all right, that's good. So now we know that processed foods, the words processed and the words food, were long in use. And to combine them was also not a difficult task, even for the ancients. But foods are mainly judged by how many vitamins, minerals, and macronutrients, think fat, protein, and carbs they contain. Well, who does that? As well as their sugar, salt, and saturated fat contents. There's no level of processing on a food label. I wouldn't know how to do that, would you? Level of processing. Boy, that requires somebody to generate a number. Scientists don't agree on exactly how to define processed foods. Neither do I. If you give two experts the same ingredients list, they will have different opinions about whether something is processed or not. What was the point of telling you that don't eat processed food, that don't eat ultra-processed foods? Why did they say, why is that even in the literature? Okay, I'll tell you why. Because it's confusing as hell. Okay, and I'll tell you why it's confusing. Tell me what you mean by processed foods. What processed food? What processes makes the food bad? And how can you say something's a food when it's not? All right, I'll give you clues. Here's a clue. It's the only clue that I know about. You can subject food to extreme pressure and extreme heat and over a long period of time. What have you got? Well, you take a look at all the things that we currently take out of the ground. One of them is called petroleum. It used to be food. Another one's called coal. Okay, that used to be vegetation. Whoa, wait a minute. I mean, it's not food anymore. We've processed it? Yes, it's been processed. It's not food anymore. That's the process. Oh, wait a minute. But that's the only process. So the process is simply this. You burn something that's food, right? You burn it enough, and it becomes an ash. Ash is just, they're not even food anymore, are they? Okay? Or you can burn it to the point where it's totally charcoal looking. That's not food either. So anyway, I'm still confused. Processed foods are bad for you. What's bad about them? That they're burnt? Well, nobody would buy or eat that. The ashes. Nobody would buy or eat that. So here's the confusing part. It continues on in this article with a word salad that's unbelievable. You have no idea what's good or bad about processed or ultra-processed foods. There's the rub. We need to define these words very carefully. And the labeling standards that we currently employ are not even close to what the rest of the world uses, which is much more informative. Okay, just by using an appropriate measure. Do you know that serving size, when you define it, you can have it do anything you want? I mean, I can have a sugar be defined as 0 calories based on serving size. So, believe it or not, this is true. Take a look at it. Anyway, so let's talk about serving size, and let's not talk about serving size. Let's talk about the label, the words. And then I'll give you the idea as to what this really says in the dictionary. I will let you know what these two words really mean in the dictionary. Well, a process is a process. If you take it from step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That doesn't change food no matter how you do that, except for when you apply heat and pressure. Then you change the food to a non-food. Okay, so next question. Food. What is food? Well, it used to be food, but it's not anymore. Well, that's not food. Okay, so when the process itself changes the food to a non-food, it's not a process. You don't want to eat that. Obviously, you don't want to eat processed and ultra-processed food. But that's not what they're saying. There's stuff in the food that is not food. They've added it. It's not a process though. They've added it to food. You add salt to food. Actually, salt is not a food. It's a mineral. Is it harmful? Not really, okay? What about carcinogens? Are they harmful when they're added to the food? Yes, they are. The world is full of preservatives, pesticides, and color and flavors that are chemicals, that are not food. Yet, it's not what we point to and say, this is the problem. Because we are allowed to put any chemical or any process or anything into the food. The food industry allows any chemical to go into food, any chemical. And they don't even have to tell you it's in there. But pesticides, it's a natural thing that happens on food. You spray it with pesticides so wait a minute, the insects don't want it. Why would you? How about preservatives? Well, there's another one. The labels are a little bit more informative. Nitrates and nitrites, okay? They are a discussion. However, what happens when you add a process to, not the food itself, the nitrates and the nitrites? What happens? God, it changes them into something even worse. Oh, same thing with all certain oils that are not natural, that have been processed, that have been squeezed to death with heat and pressure. And guess what? Here's when you use them, when you eat them or when you use them, okay, when you add more heat and pressure, they turn even more evil. Okay, so that's what they mean by processed foods. Well, they're not foods to begin with, so why do you call them processed foods? Call them what they are. Call them seed oils, not vegetable oils, which they're not, as an example. So anyway, so I hope this shed some light on what process and what food, what the word means, and how would you look at it. Okay, make sure you look at the labels and try to understand this chemistry mess that they put it on. Okay, first thing you need to do is understand what a food molecule looks like. Not looks like, but what it is. There are sugars that are molecules, and all carbohydrates fit the same profile. All carbohydrates are sugars. Okay. Ooh. And then there's only a few healthy oils. There's only a few. Oh, actually, no, there's a lot of healthy fat. Let's call it fat. And it's the saturated fat, believe it or not. It's the animal fats that are great for you, healthy. It's also the animal products that, milk, for example, when butter is made from it, it's pure fat, it's great fat. And cream, just plain cream, okay? There's a component of milk which has some carbohydrates. Be careful with that. But there's also vegetable oils, which are called vegetable oils. I don't know why, but they haven't been around a long time. They're actually seed oils. And it started with this product called Crisco. And what happened there? It became an ultra-processed food, which nobody understood what it was. It wasn't a food. It's never been a food. Okay. Do you understand the question now? I hope. Processed foods and ultra-processed foods. We don't know what it is. Scientists say. Why should you? So, if you follow along the rest of this article in Time Magazine, that word salad, and they explain to you something, what? Come on, give me a break. Okay, anyway, next topic is more of this stuff that they talk about in these beautiful articles, and we'll talk about some pharmaceutical products which are just recently come out. Let's talk about that a little bit, but not in this session. Until the next time, let's talk again about the words and how we use them to talk about what we eat and how we feel about what we eat. Okay. Anyway, till the next time.